Hi, this is going to be a video mainly for chiropractors. Deanna Rittiger, a client and friend of mine for years now, setting up a class in San Diego, and she asked me what could she say to a network chiropractor about my work that would allow him to get kind of a sense of it, to see whether he wanted to do the class or not. So I'm going to do a video basically for that chiropractor, but I'm also going to send it out to the Parker people, because it is I'm going to just tell you some of the impact my classes have had, what some chiropractors have said. I'm not going to tell you about the doctor who wrote to me and asked me to immediately remove him from his mailing list because he didn't want to have anything more to do with a lunatic like me, a hysterical lunatic, I think were the words if I quote him. But he was a medical doctor, and we all know how serious they are. And he was in quite a bit of conflict in his life and didn't seem to want to resolve it. So that's the amount of negative feedback I'm going to give you on myself. Okay, that's it, but it's from an MD, so let's keep that with little filters on it. I've had, of course, because I am a chiropractor, have had a lot of chiropractors in my classes years ago, and most of these will be a little while ago. Well, they'll be in the past because that's when they did the class with me. I had a Dr. Joe from the Washington, D.C. area. We were working in this really neat little area right around there. I can't think of it right now. But the class that I'm doing in Peoria, I'm presenting for Parker seminars as well, but the class I'm doing in Peoria and in San Diego is one of my favorite classes. It used to be called Healing Through Humor. Now we've changed to Self-Actualization. I guess we're looking at changing again because that really doesn't say what it is. But Dr. Joe came, and the class runs Friday night all day, Saturday, and all day Sunday. And on Saturday morning, Dr. Joe came in, and he said, I've already gotten the tuition of this class. I've got the tuition's worth out of this class. And I said, well, if it continues to create value, you can pay me more money. Which he didn't. But what he said, I said, okay, what are you talking about? And he was in a band, and he played some kind of an Irish instrument, and it sounds like a cross between a drum and something else. I'm not really sure, but it's handheld, whatever it is. And he said, I've been practicing this thing for a long time. And he said, what people keep saying to me is become one with the instrument. And he said, I haven't had a clue what they meant by that until last night. He said, I went home after class and I started practicing. And he said, I got what they meant. I became one with the instrument. It was a neat sensation. I think I can recreate it. Another chiropractor, a network chiropractor from Dallas, did some work with me. I'd done a preview for my mentor, Martin Sage. And Lisa and her husband came to some classes with Martin, came to some classes with me. I was doing a class in Houston. I saw her and I said, are you coming to the class? And she said, no. She said, you call yourself a business consultant, and my classes, or my business has fallen off in the last year. And so I don't think the investment is worth it. And I said, that's brilliant thinking. I agree with that. If somebody proposes that they are a business coach, which a lot of what I do enhances people's businesses, and you don't get more business, then why would you do more business with that business coach? When I did the class in Houston a little while later, I was sitting, and it was one of the days in class, and I stopped and said, Lisa, what are you doing here? I said, I talked to you. You said you weren't coming because your numbers were off, that they weren't what you thought they should be, and they had gone down. And she said, yeah, after I talked to you, she said, I actually looked at my stats. I did the stats and looked at them. She said, I have been almost twice as busy as I was last year. She said, the thing is, I'm having so much more fun in my office that it doesn't seem like that much work. She said, I just thought because there was so much less stress that I was doing a lot less business. She said, but actually I'm doing a lot more business. I don't know if twice is that is the number, but it was. She said it was significant that she considered reinvesting in herself, which was in the class. One thing Lisa did out of the class was she put a karaoke machine in her office. She became the singing chiropractor and had a lot of fun doing that. I have a client on the East Coast, Dr. Brian. He has said, I don't like doing classes with you, Mick. My classes are intense. They're fun. We laugh a lot with you and or at you. It doesn't really matter to me. As long as you have a sense of humor, or you're willing to be exposed to a sense of humor. But a lot of things will come up in the class that are less than efficient, and if we can make them conscious, they will resolve themselves. That's the title of my book, Noticing Fixes More Than Fixing, and that's what that's about. If we can just make them conscious, and if you're not conscious of them, sometimes it can be quite uncomfortable looking at them. But Dr. Brian had done a bunch of classes with me, and he said, I don't particularly like doing classes with you. I don't like spending the time or the money, which, yes, the tuition is $1,250, and I think that's a lot of money for 3 days. But what I'm always awed at is that people will give up 3 days of their lives, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and then Tuesday night follow-up, because time is so important to people right now and so scarce for a lot of people. But Brian said, I don't particularly like spending that much time or money with you. He said, but for 2 to 3 weeks after I do a class with you, my phone is ringing off the hook with new patients and patients reestablishing themselves. He said, so it's always worth it doing the class with you. If you want to get another aspect, another view of my work, Dr. Paul Seitz is a network chiropractor, kind of. He's got his DC degree, his Doctor of Chiropractic, and his Doctor of Construction. He remodels homes more than he pretends to be a chiropractor, I think. But came and did a class, and on my website there's an article called Red Pill, Blue Pill, and it puts a lot into perspective about what my work is about. It's a little bit difficult to describe. That's why I'm trying to talk to you and tell you about some of the impact that it's had on particularly chiropractors. Dr. Jim from Seattle was doing a class. Jim is always has done a lot of different things: kinesiology, chiropractic, NET, the Scott Walker work, and we were working doing a weekend down south of San Francisco, I believe, and Jim, I had a portable table, started working on one of the ladies, and he looked at me and he said, does this happen all the time? And I said, what? He said, she is so much easier to test. He said, every time after I do a weekend with you, he said, my patients are so much easier to test. And one of the things we do on a weekend is we reset your vibrational frequency. We reboot your system on the pristine operating system, which I'm not going to go into right now. But we reboot it onto the pristine operating system, and a whole bunch of things change. When you're vibrating at a different frequency, it's easier for your patients to come into that frequency, especially if you're their physician. So I wanted to give a few examples. One of the things that will change for you, that changes for the majority of the people in the class, is people get biologically younger. People are 10 to 15 years younger within the first 6 weeks after the class. And because it is a learning method, we call it Self-Actualization learning technologies, because it's a learning technology, it gets deeper and deeper into the system, so the system gets younger. They say that about meditation. If a person sits and meditates, they actually get younger, and that's what happens here. One of the things we also notice, and one of the things I've been deeply involved in for a lot of years, is detoxification. I've been screaming about heavy metal detox, the use of amalgams, get them out, and then all the toxicities that are being put into the planet and into our food, and have suggested almost ongoing detoxifications for people. But one of the things, kind of inadvertently, we did a month-long, and we found that people detox twice as fast, that they pull the toxins out of their systems almost twice as fast when they're doing this technology in accordance with their detox program. But for the chiropractors, one of the things that I'm going to do, if you come to Parker, if you come to my class, I'm going to suggest very strongly that you put up on your wall in your clinic, the rule of this office is doctor, and then however you go, Dr. Brian, Dr. Jim, however you go to your patients, Dr. MacKenzie, whatever it is, has fun. And because a friend of mine, a network chiropractor, the late Rafael Schifo, I said to his staff, when is it that Raf is having fun? And they said, when he's working on patients. And I said, right, so that's your job, to see that he works on patients as often as possible, to get him as busy as you can, so that he has fun. Then this becomes a much more fun place to work. Raf said, what I have discovered and developed is the premier software system to the chiropractic hardware solution. Right? Chiropractic works with the body. I mean, you know that. Duh. But what I've discovered is how to work with the software system of this hardware system. And the first time that I heard that technology was after a class, and Tim Brown from Vancouver came. He was a mentor of mine. He worked with one of my mentors, and I'd known him for years. And Tim came and he said, Mick, I think what you've done is you've affected the software system. And that's where we started talking about the pristine operating system and the antiquated operating system. And in a weekend, our attempt will be to reboot you into the pristine operating system, which is based on trust, fun, unconditional love, happiness, all of those things, so that when you go into your office, you're resonating at a higher state so that you can encompass your patient in that. Just as the last kind of thing, Dr. Stuart Reinsberger, a close friend of mine, passed away last year. And as he was dying, I was in quite a close contact with him. I would call him and we would talk on the phone. And he said, 3 things have impacted my life profoundly, Mick. The conversation began because I am involved in the Dharma Center in Maui, and Stuart has gone there and worked closely with Lama Geltsen as well. And when I found out Stuart was dying, I said to him, I called Lama Geltsen in Maui, and I said, my friend Stuart, you know him, you love him, he's dying. And I said, would you look out for him? I said, I'll tell you as soon as he makes a transition. He said, absolutely, Dad. He calls me Dad, which is a real kind of a neat thing. He said, I'll look out for him. But Stuart and I were talking as he was on his deathbed, and he was really, it was like talking to a little kid sometimes. He would say, I wonder what's going to happen next. And I thought, I know, you're going to die. But I didn't, you know what I mean? I could see what he's saying. He was wondering what was coming next. He wasn't afraid. He was just, there was this immense amount of curiosity about what was coming next. Stuart said, my life has been profoundly affected by 3 things. The Dharma, which is the study of Buddhism, network chiropractic, and Mick, your work, your self-actualization learning technologies. Out of the classes, people will get younger, more productive, they'll do more of what they want, they'll get more ruthless around their happiness. When somebody comes in and tries to compromise your happiness, you'll have the Aikido tools, Aikido spiritual tools, to move them to your happiness, and if you can't, to have the ruthlessness to ask them to get out of your happiness. I hope this explains it a little bit. It's nebulous, it's hard to explain. Years ago, a newspaper editor came to, I'd talked to her for years, and she said, MacKenzie, if you weren't so damn secretive about this stuff, I would write an article on you and make you famous. And I said, okay, I'm not secretive. I said, it's nebulous. It's hard to see what I do. I said, come to a class, and then we'll see about what to write. And she came to a class, and, she was, on Tuesday, 15 years younger, and she was absolutely over the moon. And I said, so? And she said, so what? And I said, what about the article? She said, what do I write about this? We have a lot of fun in the weekend. It's intense. If it weren't, I wouldn't do it. But the chiropractors out there, it will enhance your practice, it will enhance your lifestyle, it will allow more things to come out of the blue. I've seen it happen over and over again. I apologize for going on at length with this, but I really wanted to get this point across because Deanna asked for it. Thanks. Have a fun day. I look forward to working with y'all.